I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-minute convos where I help you create a brand of your own unique, real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good night, Christian Sager. How are you going on this wonderful, beautiful night?
I'm going very well. Actually, here in Atlanta, Georgia, we're getting a big thunderstorm right now.
Ouch.
I love thunderstorms. So I hope, though, that we don't lose power.
Yeah, well, let's see what happens in 12 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Well, Christian, please do tell us which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this time.
I think it might be because of podcasting.
Yeah.
I think you hooked up with me on LinkedIn via podcasting. So I used to work for How Stuff Works and was a professional podcaster for them. And I also run my own creator-owned podcast called Supercontext.
How was it being the host of Works guy?
Well, I hosted Stuff to Blow Your Mind and another show called Brain Stuff over there. And mainly, the job was do a lot of research about big ideas and science, and then condense it down into a way that you could podcast about it and have an extemporaneous conversation that's accessible for everybody. So it was a lot of fun. But sometimes your head got really full of information.
I would think so. Like that in itself is probably a life skill that you've now been able to, I'm guessing, reap the benefits of.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. In fact, it's something that I've taken along with me onto my current show, Supercontext. We do the same thing, but it's instead of science, we take a look at culture and pop media.
Oh, sweet. There's one guy that passed through from How Stuff Works, Jonathan Strickland. Do you know him?
Oh, yeah, I know Johnny Strick. He used to sit across from me when I was still working there. Yeah, we're good friends.
Did he ever give you that joke that's pretty long? Like
No, I don't know which one.
Okay.
Jonathan has a lot of jokes. I don't know which one you're talking about, though. Yeah, I actually first started working with Jonathan because I originally was a video writer for How Stuff Works, and I used to write scripts for videos that Jonathan would perform. He's a great performer.
Yeah, he is a great performer, and I didn't even see him. I just heard his voice. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Yeah, well, tell us a bit more of the podcast, how it's affected your life, and where we can connect with it.
Well, so it's been really nice, actually. So I just left How Stuff Works a couple of weeks ago, and I've just been getting a lot of really nice messages from listeners who learned about me over there. Just very gratifying, and I didn't expect it. Dozens of people have reached out to me to get in touch with me and hopefully stay in contact. But now I'm working on my own thing and building my own show up, and I'm really looking forward to building that audience and getting to meet new listeners through that.
Yeah, definitely all the best on that journey. So is the website up already for it, or is it still work in progress? Yeah, tell us.
Nope, we actually already have 80 episodes.
Wow.
It's supercontextpodcast.libsyn.com is where it is. But of course, like with any podcast, if anybody's listening to this, you can find it on any podcast player, whether you're on Apple Podcasts or Google Play or Stitcher. We're on all of those.
Love it. Why will you continue to repeat the skill of podcasting, Christian?
I think that podcasting is something that I kind of fell into by accident, but it really speaks to me and the direction that I want to take my career into. Both in terms of doing audio-visual, new media type stuff, but also critical thinking in a way that some media don't allow you to do. So I'm thinking of social media here, for instance, but podcasting is a really great way to interact with people and dive deep and think about new things and see things from another perspective, as I imagine you've probably gotten out of this show.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought you were going to say, as I imagine, you have gotten out of your box. Yeah, most definitely, because I think the conversations have definitely expanded the boundaries of my mind, if you would, and where I existed in terms of just having so many variations in thoughts and conversations and tones and songs and situations and beliefs, and the list goes on.
Yeah, that's great. It expands your perspective and you get to see the world from a different angle, and I think that that's helpful.
I believe so. I mean, I get to speak to Christian Sega tonight, so it's pretty. It's pretty
How
awesome.
many of these have you done so far? Aren't you trying to do like 700 or something crazy like that?
Well, I am attempting to do 800 podcast, which is added on to just over 1100. So, for instance, your episode number is going to be 1803.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, I appreciate
That's
that.
a lot of voices.
Oh, I hear voices. Well, tell us one other thing that you've done, Christian, consistently over the last 3 years.
Well, outside of podcasting, I'm also a writer, and I primarily write comic books. And so I've been doing that consistently, actually longer than 3 years. I've been doing it for almost 10 years now. And it's sort of a thing I do on the side. I've written and produced graphic novels and anthologies and some miniseries. So I just really love making comics.
How does that make you feel when you're doing that?
Productive. I like having the opportunity to kind of roll up my sleeves and get my hands dirty with something creative that's a different medium than podcasting.
Could you please explain the artwork on your podcast? Please.
Oh, for Supercontext?
Yeah.
So I'm not a very good artist, but as part of my my work in comics, I've learned to draw in color over the last couple of years. So for every episode of Supercontext, I do a pretty crude cartoon illustration as our thumbnail art, and it's a fun way to get the audience involved on social media.
Oh, I'm seeing on the podcast the image that you would use, right? The 12 by 12 image, 1200 by 1200. It's like a circle, right? There's
I see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You mean the Supercontext logo,
right?
Yeah. So that is actually, the name Supercontext comes from a comic book that was written by a guy named Grant Morrison in the 90s called The Invisibles. And there was a version of that symbol that was used in that comic book, but it was red. And so we tried to reverse engineer how that looked and made it blue. And then we played around with the words in the title Supercontext so that they're all layered as various graphic lines on top of one another within that circle.
Sweet. I love it. Love it.
Thanks.
Wow. Amazing stuff. It's the best I've seen thus far. I'm telling you, amazing audience. It's the best.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. How could you not click on this? Like, what's that? That's
What
great.
I like about it is it scales really well, because if you're looking at it on a computer, you can see all the details. But if you're looking at it in a tiny little thumbnail on your phone, it still has that resonant imagery with the blue colors.
Yeah. When I visited Dave Ramsey's organization, the marketing team was showing us how they did billboards and how they tested it. And what they were doing is, like, one person would line up and run really quickly past it because they were mimicking a car, right? To see.
So that's how they were trying to get an idea of how the audience would see it.
Exactly.
That's smart.
It is, right? But with yours, like that's what I don't run past it, but I usually put things really far out, and this definitely is amazing. Love it. All right. You're welcome. Well, Christian, tell us where's the best place where you told us Supercontext, right? .libsyn.com, right? Supercontext.
Yeah, Libsyn is the hosting service that we use right now.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Christian, let's switch gears for a moment now and let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Christian, what is your earliest childhood memory?
My earliest childhood memory is being helped out by my grandmother and her sister, my great aunt Mackie. They used to take care of me when I was very little, and especially like helped give me baths and things like that and get me ready for bed. And that's the first thing I remember.
How old do you think you were in that memory?
Somewhere between 3 and 4, I think.
Intriguing. So why do you think this memory is so clear?
Uh, my great aunt Mackie was a very kind, energetic woman, and both her and my grandmother loved me unconditionally. And it was just a really strong, powerful memory that I have that I'll always hold with me. And my grandmother's actually still alive. She's 96 years old.
Wow, that's amazing. Is she 96 this year or is she going to be 96?
No, she this year. She's actually yeah, in March she turned 96.
Wow. Wow. Well, I mean, just hail out to my granny as well. She'll be 95 on the 24th. Pretty
Wow,
amazing
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
be lucky if I make it to 100. I think that I'll be satisfied and then I can check out.
Yeah, me too. I say the same thing. Yeah. Yeah. We'll definitely have a conversation. Maybe it may be by via teleportation by then,
That's
right?
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. Love it. So, how do you see that memory connecting to who you are today, Christian?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that the fact that they gave me such unconditional love is something that taught me about how to approach relationships. You
Mm,
know, whether it's with my wife or with my friends or meeting brand new people, is just really, just present yourself and listen and be there unconditionally for the people that you're with.
yeah, I love it. Can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I just say one word, and it is the fact of the matter that that relationship put things into super context.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. The way we joke about it on the show is you've got your text, which is usually like the piece of media we're talking about, and you've got your super context, which is, trying to figure out the larger context and how it relates to you individually.
Love it. Love it. Christian, if we fast forwarded to when you were 12, what was your favorite song?
When I was 12 years old, it was 1989, and I was fascinated with Transformers the movie. This was the animated movie,
Right?
and I still am to this day. I'm a big nerd for old Transformers stuff, and the soundtrack for that movie had this song called "Dare" by Stan Bush on it,
Yeah.
and that was my favorite song then.
Yeah, I love that song too.
I used to, man, my Transformers were how I built my whole music catalog at that age. I used to
Wow.
make my Transformers do little dance routines to all the pop music I was listening to then.
Yeah. Back in that time, I used to have like school lessons that finished at 11:30, right? And
Yeah.
Transformers episode started at 11:30, and we would run something like 2 kilometers, like
Yeah.
run at the top of our speed just to get home to see that, just because we had lessons. Yeah, Transformers definitely transformed us, didn't it?
It did in a lot of ways. It's kind of funny when you look back on it, especially with like these new movies now. But yeah, I actually have the collection of all those episodes that came out when
Wow.
we were kids, and it's
Wow.
real funny to watch them now and see like, oh wow, I wonder how this affected my worldview.
Yeah, love it. Well, Christian, we've arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form. So it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. We're going to move pretty
Oh,
quickly
okay.
here. Are you ready, Christian?
I am, yeah, but there's no tax, right?
There's always tax. Christian, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
I haven't yet, but I've been thinking about this because I'm actually moving to Portland, Oregon in the next few months, and I'm hoping to get really involved in both the podcasting and comics community there so I can share my skills with other people.
Are you married?
Yeah, I am.
Do you have children?
No,
Do you believe in God?
I do,
Do
but
you?
I don't know if I believe in organized religion, if that makes sense.
All right, all right. You have an interesting name that goes with this
I do.
conversation.
It is funny. Yeah, a lot of people bring that up. Yeah.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
I do, yeah, yeah.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
Probably not 3 hours a day. It's probably around two. And I'd guess that if you include weekends, it's probably about 16 hours a week.
All right. And what about screen time? The phone and or the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Definitely more than eight, man. Oh, it's too much. I need to get better about walking away from the various screens and getting some outdoors time.
Well, in Oregon, it should be a great pleasure doing that, wouldn't it be?
Yes, that's one of the reasons I'm going there. I can't wait.
Christian, if you had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents Christian Sager, what would you say that is?
So On Supercontext, we just last week published an episode about Ray Bradbury, the writer, and he talked about three things that have sort of become my new unique statement, but they're not, I guess it's not mine and unique in that, like, I've been embracing what Ray Bradbury came up with. It's feed your subconscious, think critically, and then do the work.
Love it. Christian, this has been a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
I just put a plug out there, and please recommend people check out Supercontext. It's a podcast autopsy of media, how we consume it, and how it informs our everyday culture, and we drop new episodes every Friday.
Christian Seger, this was a great pleasure. Thank you, my friend, for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Thank you so much, Angel.
Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com, and for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.